So where were we? We were, Mr. Berman, you're in the middle of answering questions. Welcome. We now have 131 participants, and we're going to continue to admit people as we go.
Right. And I think, you know what, I think Ms. Siddiqui was giving us a bit of an update. Ms. Siddiqui, did you finish your update? I'm pretty sure you did.
Yes, just that we've worked very hard to be able to ensure that 187 teachers will be working with the remote students.
That's kind of where we left off, based on what Ms. Pissarro had talked about. So what I'd like to do is, since there was really a lot there and we have new people joining, Ms. Pissarro, can you please go over that again, that sort of frame of what we were talking about?
Yes, of course. So as of right now, what we're planning based on the numbers that we have is that students will be split between the blended learner and the remote learner. And for now, what we're trying to do is assign teachers to the remote only students. So if there are, as you know, before today anyway, we had about like 4 classes of 6th graders, 4 classes of 7th graders, and 5 classes of 8th graders. So we would then assign 187 teachers to those students to be there. So we would have 3 science teachers, 1 for 6th, 7th, 8th, 3 social studies teachers for 6th, 7th, 8th, and so on and so forth. As those numbers change, then we would have to try to adjust it accordingly. Now, if the DOE makes any type of change of who's teaching the remote only students, then that would be something that's out of our control. But as of right now, we're trying to make it so that the IS-187's teachers will teach the remote only students. So then right. And now we have our group of blended students. And really the issue is how will we can split these teachers into remote only and blended, but then you can't go and multiply the teachers in the blended learning group. You know, if you go and double the classes of students by saying you're at home and you're in school, you can't double the teachers in the same way. You know, just because you can make 2 groups of students, you can't double the teachers. So our solution as of now, assuming that 187 teachers will be teaching 187 students, is we were trying to give the teachers 4 teaching periods when the normal teaching day is 5. So if they are teaching with in person 4 times, that 5th period would be dedicated to the students that are their blended learning students at home. So I know the question is, well, how will they be taught during that blended learning period? And the honest answer is that we're really not sure as of right now. We don't know if they will be getting live instruction or if they will be getting an assignment posted. And the reason for that also is that you have to remember now 2/3 of the students are at home. So we're not sure if live instruction will be able to happen during that period for multiple reasons. So we're not really sure the type of instruction that the blended learner will get while they are at home. But for right now, we're planning on having their teachers that they see in school also be teaching them or providing instruction for them while they are at home.
I think the variability that may happen is more likely, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Pissarro, but I think any variability in that is more likely to happen with the blended group than with the remote only group.
I agree. I agree. And right, for the remote only students, they will be getting live instruction in their classes. But we don't know if the teachers will have that time in their schedule to teach the students that are at home live.
We've also, there is also contention or at least information that teachers who are teaching blended students are not going to be giving live instruction. I don't know if that's true or not. Again, that's one of the things, as I prefaced all of this before, is that some of these things are beyond our control. And that's one of the things that are beyond our control. Those are things that will be negotiated by the union, and they'll let us know what that is.
Right. We're hoping that as or if students switch from blended to remote, that once they create a class of 33, then they can be given a set of teachers to teach them remote only as if they were in that remote only group from the beginning. And during that transition period, when there's only 4 sixth graders or 5 sixth graders, we will keep them in that blended learning period. So they'll still get instruction every day until we have a full class, because we also can't put class size above 33, even if it's remote. So we have limitations in that we can't just say, okay, join this remote only class that has been happening since September, because if that class is at 33 already, and now we have 38 sixth graders, where are those other 4 sixth graders going? So we're hoping to keep them with their teachers that they're starting with, getting instruction during that blended learning period until there's enough of them to make a full class.
Great.
Mr. Berman?
Thank you. Yes, Mr.
So
Levin.
again, people are asking, is which model is better? And as you explained, it's up to the individual parent. It's what the parents believe is the best choice for their child and their families. Some people think it's very important to have their kids go into school, to have interaction, and some people believe it's very important to have live instruction as much as possible. So right now, as it stands right now, if you want live instruction as much as possible, so 5 periods a day of live instruction, then remote learning is the way to go. Would that be a correct statement?
I'm going to, Ms. Pissarro, I'm going to give you the first answer on that, and then I'll follow up. Go right ahead.
As of right now, that's our plan, and the DOE could turn around and change that on us. But for right now, that is the plan that we're going with. If, let's say, for example, I'm the teacher for 8th grade, then that means I will be teaching live 5 times, my 5 classes every day with the live instruction. That is what is expected right now. If tomorrow the Department of Ed turns around and says the remote only kids are taught by these subset of teachers from wherever, that's something that's out of our control. But right now, that's the plan.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the answer to your question is yes. There will be the most live instruction will happen in this plan for the remote learners.
And you will attempt to keep 710 together with 710 kids, 710 kids, but it's a 33 maximum. There's some question about that as well.
The classes will be combined. Mrs. Pissarro explained that. That the only way that we will have enough teachers to do any of this is to combine classes.
But to a maximum of 33.
Well, yes, to a maximum of 33 remotely.
Right.
And of course, we're not going to put more than 12 students in a room at a time in school. Yes.
So the question is, I mean, all of these questions about remote keep coming up, and the questions are, will the kids will all the 710 remote kids be able to stay together? So the answer is, if possible, yes, but you may be able to pull 711 kids or 712 kids, depending on how many kids in each class choose remote.
For example, and again, I'll defer to our programmer, who, by the way, is one of our math teachers, if you haven't figured that out, and absolutely amazing. She can make any of these numbers work. I really want to.
I don't know about that, but
it doesn't matter to us whether you choose blended or remote for programming, for anything. It's not like it's harder or easier for us. It really has no bearing. The only thing that has, and I think that's important that we've been able to create it that way. Because now you have the complete freedom once we give you all of the information. And that's why we're here today. I'm not here to tell you you should do remote learning because it has more live instruction. Maybe that's not what's important to you. Maybe it's more important that you have the socialization with your children, that they're with other children in the school. Maybe that's more important. That's not for me to decide. That's for you as a parent to decide. But what I can tell you is that the way this is set up, it's set up to work with that all of our students have all of our teachers all of the time, and that the most amount of live instruction is going to happen remotely. And again, we don't even know that the DOE is going to say blended teachers can teach live instruction. I know there are some schools who have already sent home letters. Maybe you've seen them, that the blended students aren't getting any live instruction. Now, I haven't seen that, and I'm not ready to say that, but I can tell you that when our teachers have blended instruction for that one period a day that we've created, don't forget, that's not with 33 children. That's with 2/3 of the teacher's program. Teacher has 120 students. So it's 2/3 of 120. So that's not going to be an instructional class. Could be office hours, could be meeting with small groups of teachers. It could be posting assignments. It could be checking up on work. It could take any number of forms. But I can tell you that it is not going to take the form of live instruction to 120 to 2/3 of 120 students. That we know is not going to happen.
I think that some parents are confused about, in general, how the blended learner is coming to school.
Sure, let's talk about that.
Yeah, there's a few questions about that, and I think that's an easy thing to just iron out. That there will be a calendar, right, that we provide saying when A is in school, when B is in school, when C is in school, to make it more clear. But in general, a cohort is in school the 2 days and then home for 4 days. So it would be 2 consecutive days that your child is in school, and then 4 consecutive days that your child would be at home getting instruction.
Right. And I just want to clarify something again, because I see something in the email about what Mulgrew said or anything like that. I don't work for Mulgrew, and I don't work for the UFT. We work for the Department of Education, and we follow the Department of Education policy, not UFT policy. Now, of course, we are bound by the contract that the DOE enters into with the Department of Education. And if they make changes to it, they'll let us know. Right now, they haven't made any changes to the DOE contracts. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at with that. So
Mr. Berman, as it stands right now, nothing we're doing violates the terms of anybody's contract, right?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Everything that we're doing is real. Everything that we're doing can and will work.
Also, Mr. Berman, may I add that everything that we're doing has been created by an administrative team and a teacher team. So the teachers and the UFT rep has been involved in every aspect of our planning.
Yes. And I will add parents too.
Yes.
Because, along with Mr. Labella, there are a lot of voices that we hear, whether it's through our leadership team. We've had a number of leadership team meetings and conversations through emails. And yes, yeah. So let's. I know I did make a promise that we were going to get to all the questions that were submitted in advance. And I know there are questions that are still pouring in, and I want to get to them. So can we start with the questions that we got in advance and go from there so we can, does that make sense?
Yep, that does. So, Mr. Berman, a lot of the questions that I received, I heard in the back of my head, I heard that we kind of answered them already.
All right, well,
so let me go through them.
Yes.
That we need the first day of school. Everybody knows it's September 9th. We will get notices of who will go when and where once everything is set. Who will teach my child during remote learning? We know that's 187 teachers right now, pending anything different. Can students request to go to the same? Here's a good one. Can students request to go to school on the same day with their friends? Now that's tough on your schedulers.
The answer is no. The answer is no. What we are going to do, though, is make sure that we do address sibling issues and make sure that siblings are on the same schedule.
Thank you. That seems
no, but friends, no.
Yes, thank you. That seems very reasonable to me.
Yes.
So I think the socialization issue comes up again and again. The question is there anything that we can do to help these kids, maybe outside of the day structure, to get together and to get to know each other, especially the incoming sixth graders?
You know, it's so hard. I mean, we're really not in a position to organize in-person events. However, as Ms. Siddiqui talked about, we're working very, very hard to create events, activities, and ways for students to feel part of our community. I think our students did a fabulous job last year in each of the academies, creating events and videos and fun activities, and I see that continuing. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, Ms. Siddiqui? Because I think it's
I just actually, I did have a conference call earlier with Mr. Chechi, who is working with a team of students, and they are already planning on, like I said, writing letters to the sixth graders via email, get to know you events that they will be hosting beginning in September. So right now they're in the planning stages. In addition to the sixth grade, they're also planning some events for the seventh graders, because we want to make sure as our new seventh graders, they didn't have a full year of sixth grade with us. So we want to make sure that they get to know each other a little bit better, and they get to know their new teachers. So the teachers are creating certain events per academy, per grade, as well as the students are really taking an active leadership role in creating get to know you activities, and being available to answer questions for incoming sixth.
Thank you. And just to inform, today you will be receiving, sixth grade families will be receiving an email to set up children's Google Suite accounts. That includes access to Google Classroom and all of the other, or many of the other Google applications that students and teachers will be using this year. Once you have that, you'll also see the link to the Academy pages. Mrs. McGarity, one of our tech teachers, did a great job putting together the instructions and the accounts and the links. And you'll see one of the first videos that our new group of student leaders put together to welcome sixth graders to our school. So please keep an eye out for that.
Yes,
Parents,
I can also tell you, Mr. Berman, that the eighth graders are extremely eager to get to be able to communicate with the sixth grade. And they were asking me today if they could have the email addresses. So sixth grade parents, as soon as you can, if you can get the kids onto their Google accounts and to their Google pages, the eighth graders are really wanting to interact with the kids as soon as possible.
Great, thank you, thank you. Okay, Mr. Labella, what else have you got?
I apologize. After school programs, NIA.
There will be no live after school programs, live meaning in person.
Who needs to buy tissue? Me.
There will be no in-person programs. Let's see. Thank you. No after school live programs, but there may be after school programs in the virtual world.
收埋咩啊？
Okay.
What else?
Okay, great. I'm unmuted. So yeah, so in there, looking at the chat, I think we really have.
Did we get to the advanced questions yet?
I believe we went through. Hold on.
Okay.
I believe we went through most of those have been answered in one way or the other, either by you, Stephanie, and Ms. Siddiqui.
Okay.
Different schools, different schedules. Like you said last time, we're going to make every attempt to accommodate siblings, even if they're in different schools, if we can.
If we can.
And that's a big caveat.
I don't know that we can accommodate sibling schedules from other schools.
Okay,
Siblings who
fair
go
enough.
to McAuliffe will absolutely be accommodated, but I cannot guarantee that for siblings from other schools. The schedules For example, our schedule, as I mentioned earlier, for people who were not in the first meeting, our schedule was approved. Children in the blended model will be in school for 2 consecutive days and then home for 4 days. And our ACES students, those children will be in school 5 days a week. Okay.
Wonderful.
If you're an ACES student, you're not. Don't worry, you'd know if you were.
So I'm getting a lot of questions about laptops, either the laptops that we received already or for students who haven't received laptops, when they're going to get them. I know that the laptops that we received, we've been using all summer. They just updated them. And if you do not update your laptops, they will become bricks. They'll turn off the internet. So you need to update iPads, right? Yeah, the iPads.
Yes.
iPads need to be updated. Now, if you have not received a laptop yet and you're going to do all remote, when can you expect to receive one? Do we know?
We do not know. That's something that the DOE manages, the distribution of those iPads. They don't come from our school. At the end of regular instruction last year, in order to facilitate things, we did give out some of our own laptops, which are being returned. As of right now, there is no plan for us to give out school laptops, but there is a plan, and I've previously sent out that link for families to sign up for and get additional DOE-issued iPads.
Mr. Berman, one question that I'm getting messaged about is about the remote students versus the blended students, knowing that, yes, we're going to have the same teachers, IS 187 teachers, and I'm also talking about ensuring the same curriculum, that it is 187 curriculum. So the teachers who are our 187 teachers will work with the same curriculum, that most of our curriculum is teacher designed by 187 staff. So we will be using the same curriculum, whether you're blended or not.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a really good point, Mrs. Siddiqui. One of the advantages, and again, I'm not here to convince you one way or another, but I think the environment that would most mirror a typical school environment, where you have the same teacher every day, you have a schedule, is the remote only instruction. You're gonna have the same math teacher 5 periods a day, every day. Every 1 period a day, you're gonna have the math teacher. Now, I want to put this out there. What our plan is right now, and people want to know, well, what does a day look like? What our plan right now is that the remote instruction will be a regular 8-period day from 8 to 2:20 with a lunch period. Children will be expected to go to their classes throughout the day. Last year, we had a block schedule where ELA was for an hour in the morning. That is not what we're scheduling now. Children will have ELA 5 days a week for 45 minutes a day, 41 minutes a day. We're working out those particular schedules. Again, we've received very little guidance about the specific schedules. We've gotten some models, but those models don't work for us. We're going to be creating a better model. We need time for children to disengage a little bit during the day. We need time for children to take their masks off during the day and just be a person, right? I don't expect the children to be go, 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 go all day long. And so we're going to be looking at our schedule. For example, modifying the schedule, as Mrs. Pissarro talked about, to create that blended period for us. So Ms. Siddiqui, you were fortunate. You heard Mr. Mulgrew talk, and again, we don't go by Mr. Mulgrew. He's not our boss. But one of the things that we did here was, what did he say specifically about the remote learning, that it's not going to mirror a regular school day or something like that?
Yes, what was, I believe, stated in the town hall with Mulgrew was that it wouldn't be a typical 8-period day. He didn't go into any details about what that would be like. I mean, we had a block schedule when we went remote. We try to be as consistent as possible. but we're still planning on an 8-period schedule.
Yeah, right. We don't work for
No.
UFT,
No.
and we really feel that and when I say we, our planning team feels that that is the best schedule for our students.
One of the questions is about a typical day. So basically, maybe we can go through this a little bit about how the students at this point will be lining up and entering in the building.
Please do.
Okay, so we're figuring that it would be between 150 and max 170 students per day. What they will be doing is congregating in the schoolyard. We'll have that sectioned off per classes with social distance guidelines in there. The 6th graders will be going through a 12th Avenue entrance. 7th and 8th grade will be going through the well entrance, which is usually scientific, and the end of the schoolyard. At that time, we will make sure as they walk in, single file, that there'll be random checks for a temperature. We're uncertain at this point if that's when they grab any type of lunch. That's yet to be worked out when they will be getting their lunch. They will be going directly up to their homeroom. They will have homeroom time, and we've extended the homeroom time so that we will be able to give families and children enough time to get acquainted with the schedule. And then the teachers will be doing some SEL activities, preparing the students for their day and what they need to do. After that, they will follow their program, either it being ELA, math, social studies, a physical education period, and an elective. The students will be remaining in their room. The only class that we are anticipating that they will be moving will be physical education, where they'll be going out. Lunch will be in the classroom. The school will be providing lunch. Students can take their lunch from home. Lunch will be during an instructional period. It is not a separate lunch period. That's through the DOE. That is not through us. So that was something that was decided upon. At the end of the day, in terms of busing, again, we haven't received any information on yellow school bus. 6th graders, hopefully, who will be taking the yellow school bus will be going to the auditorium, and then they will be assigned a spot based upon their bus. We will be staggering dismissal. 7th and 8th grade will be going first, so they will be able to leave through the building, and then we'll be having the 6th grade out last, because the 6th grade tends to be picked up and they tend to stay around the building as much as possible. Am I forgetting anything, Mr. Berman?
I don't think so. I think you've been quite thorough.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. So listen, an important question, one that I didn't think of. Will it be like a boxed lunch provided by the school, and will kids be allowed to bring their own?
We don't know. Children are always allowed to bring their own food.
The reason that I ask you that, Mr. Berman, is because there was just a question about allergies. So if a kid has a peanut allergies, maybe we have to suggest that we do not allow peanuts in the classroom. Would that be appropriate?
We make very strong suggestions about that. We communicate to families. Peanut allergies are nothing new to us, or our students. I think students in school generally are aware, and most families are understanding of that. We do the best we can.
There's a question about the restroom. Of course, students will have restroom breaks. We need to monitor how many students in the bathroom at a time, and there will be designated areas where the students will be able to use a staircase specified for that.
Yeah, I know there are a lot of questions in the chat. Do you want to kind of go through those, Mr. Liberty?
Yeah.
Yep. So again, please unmute. I'm going to unmute. Please mute everybody. I'll mute you if I can, just so that we don't get distracted. So a lot of them are the same. People are asking if they can switch right now from blended to remote, which I want to share what I'm doing with my child, because people ask, well, what is Labella doing? So we had set up for blended because we wanted to support the school and the idea of being with the school. But live instruction, mirroring the typical day is what's most important to us. My child is fortunate enough to get plenty of social and emotional support here at home with 2 brothers and other things that she does. And I do want to say, and I'm going to share this, remote learning you have to watch their kid. You know, my daughter's a sweet child and we love her, but, you know, we cannot trust every child to, you know, do what they're supposed to do all the time. They have to be monitored. So, you know, my child had 2 monitors and, you know, maybe she was doing math on one and doing, you know, a video game on the other. So that's something that every parent has to be aware of. Okay. These are still children. Okay. So my intention right now, I think, is to switch my kid to all remote learning. And I believe we can still do that. Is that correct?
You can always switch to remote learning. The issue is, and as Ms. Pissarro talked about before, you want to talk about that a little bit? Because again, we can't just say, okay, well now you're in this class, because that class may be full. So we have to have basically a holding area. And then once we do have enough for a class, then we can create that class. So yes, a family can always go and opt for remote learning at any time. You can go to school on September 10th and say, you know what, I don't like it, I'm not going back. You can do that. You can do that. I can't guarantee you that you're going to, that time until that class is created, there may be some time until that happens.
And also, I think a lot of parents are asking, like they're a little confused about the live instruction for the blended learner. And I think the easiest way to think about it is if the Department of Education keeps 187 teachers teaching 187 students, then for the most part, that blended learner will not receive live instruction for home. Mm-hmm. If those students are somehow outsourced, you know, for those, then maybe they'll be able to receive that live instruction. But it seems to be impossible for the 187 teachers to teach the blended learners both in school and at home, because they can't be in both places at once. And it seems like the videoing the teacher option is not really an option.
And there's another, the expression is the elephant in the room that nobody's really talking about, and Stephanie kind of alluded to it, and that's the bandwidth issue, which still remains. Because all of this is, not all, but a lot of this is predicated on teachers being able to do like some of this virtual work from school. And we are very, very certain that there are going to be significant problems with us doing even very, very basic work.
So thank you, Mr. Berman. I was actually going to, I was going to ask you about that. I think I want to share what we've been doing on the SLT. Mr. Berman has been great. He has recognized that bandwidth was going to be an issue for some time. And on the SLT and with Mr. Berman and with everyone else, we've been trying to address it. So the way he explained it is that the school has 100 megabytes of bandwidth, okay? That's 100 megabytes. And if you have FiOS, you probably have 1 gigabyte of service. So we actually have 10 times more bandwidth in our homes than Krista McAuliffe has at the school. In order to do fully remote learning, we need something comparable to what a college campus would have, and that would be an OC3 line, which may not even be available in our neighborhood. So Mr. Berman has been trying to get this done. He's put in requests to the superintendent. We've trying our best to see if we could get what we need, but we just don't know. And the PTO is certainly willing to fundraise to help, but I don't even know if we'll be allowed to, or if it's possible.
Yeah.
Is that correct, sir?
So yeah, it's really a concern. And if this plan that we have, it's really predicated on the fact that we're able to do some of this from school, right? Because we don't have that many teachers who have put in for an accommodation at home. There aren't that many of them who are going to be remote only at home. You know, it worked well in the spring for those who did live instruction because teachers were using their own connections, as Mr. Labella explained. So I'm just taking a look here at at the chat, because I see there were a lot of questions here.
So one question that keeps coming up, sir, is if we get more people choosing remote, can we change the cohort? And from what I understand, the answer is no, because we have to be prepared to switch back if we need to. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Because you may decide at the end of October, hey, you know what? I want, it's time for my child to go back to school. We have to have a plan for that too. There are people who are going to send their children to school no matter what, and we have to be able to accommodate them. That's our job.
And I also think it's important that you understand, if assuming that our students stay with our teachers, then as the blended learners need less teachers, the remote learners need more. So if we increase the instruction of the blended, then who's teaching those kids that went remote? So it's also a balancing act of, you can't have the blended learners come in more, because then those remote kids won't have anybody to teach them. So teachers will also have to be shifting as the students shift.
There's a question here about coming to school to pick up textbooks and workbooks and things like that. And if you are remote only, no, the idea is that, you won't be coming to school. We have digital textbooks, and we're working on lots of other resources for students. So I don't expect to be. If you pick up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I also think it's important that it's not that the students, the blended learners, won't be receiving instruction. Like they're a teacher team. The teacher teams have been researching different ways to provide instruction other than live like we're doing right now. So there will be an effective way that these students will be receiving instruction. Our teachers wouldn't really have it any other way. It's just not going to be live instruction like this.
Right. And one of the comments was, so blended kids get cheated out of studies for 3 days. Well, they're not going to get live instruction for 3 days. They're going to get live instruction for the 2 days that they're in school, and they will get what is called asynchronous instruction on those other days. So, yeah.
And also, depending on the numbers, the students that are remote only, we're not really sure of which elective or minor, whatever you want to call it, they will be receiving. We know they will be receiving the major subjects, but we're not really sure the remote only what minors they will be receiving. That's also up in the air a little bit.
And the reason why?
We don't know. We don't know enough. We don't know enough.
Right. We don't know where we need the teachers. We need them.
Right. We don't know enough yet.
The blended group or the remote group.
Right.
Right. The sooner we know that, the better we can. The sooner we know that, the better we can program. And again, it doesn't. It's not like it's easier or harder for us. So again, don't feel like, well, I have to do this. School's pushing us. It's not. I'm just telling you, given the constraints that we've got to do this, that's how it has to work, right? Once we know where the kids are, then we can assign the teachers. We don't know if we need to use, for example, a teacher who would teach a business class as a math teacher for kids who are in school live, because we have many math teachers, for example, who are getting accommodations to work from home.
So thank you. So here's Sean, and he's asking an obvious question. Why can't kids listen in? Because it's a union issue, right? 33 is the maximum. That's a union issue, contract issue, and that's just the way it is.
Well, also you have to think of it, there's more than just listening. Now there are assignments, there are papers. If your child is just listening to the lesson, that's not really the instruction we provide. We now give assessment. We make sure that the children are learning. So it's not, now you're not in charge of, let's say, responsible for 33 students in a period. Now there's 150 students in the period that we have to make sure learns, that what we taught.
How does one teacher keep track of 150 students? It's just really not possible.
At one time, rather than the whole day.
Are you kidding? We have teachers who keep track of hundreds of students. A technology teacher teaches the entire 6th grade.
No, I meant in one time though.
Oh, at one time. Well, listen, it's hard enough to do it. when you teach 13 classes and you have 400 students that you're responsible for, that's not an easy task.
No, it's not. So I'm gonna, you don't work for the union. I don't work for the DOE. So I'm just gonna say, one of my fellow executive board members at Brooklyn Tech published an op-ed in the Daily News today saying that we should go all remote, including teachers, and teachers be allowed to do this from home. And I think the real elephant of the room is, should we be at school at all? And if you don't feel, parents don't feel that they should be in school at all, and that the teachers should have the option of being home because it's safer for them and it's better for our students because they're getting a better education, that's something they have to make their voices heard to the appropriate people. And the appropriate people would be their elected officials, the DOE themselves, high up, the chancellor, and that's emails and letters and petitions. And if that's something you feel strongly about, that's what you need to do.
Couple things. There was a question about chorus. We were actually talking about that today. Singing in groups in an enclosed space is probably not a good idea.
And blowing into instruments.
And blowing into instruments in person, not a good idea. So while these things may have to change, music is still an important part of a child's educational experience, and they will still be receiving music instruction. The music world is tremendous. And
Mr. Berman, is there something, there's one thing that is popping up also. The one thing that I think is very important for parents to know is that the teachers and us, we understand that how face-to-face connections are so important in terms of understanding and getting to know the students. And we're fortunate that we have 3 academies that really make us get to know the students at a different level. I mean, I'm chatting with the students who are on the side here, and and we miss them so much to be able to see them. So we're really trying our best to be able to find different ways to get to have that same interaction that myself as an assistant principal has with my students every single day, with my teachers. And that's something that is difficult that we are working on, is to be able to get to know the students at a level in which we usually do within our academies. And it is a struggle, but it is something that we're working on.
And it's critical to our culture.
Yes.
And it's at the core of our success.
Yes.
And the schedules for the students, whenever we go back, whenever that may be, they're ready to go. So during this time, electives will be different and things will look different. But once school comes back to normal, if your child is in a chorus class, they will be in their chorus class. All that is ready, assuming at some point when we come back.
So we mentioned that
Can I
we're
just
not sure.
I wanted to clarify something first, if I may, because there's something in the chat, and it really sends the wrong message, and I just want to clarify it. It says here that it looks like blended learners are getting instruction for 2 days and 4 days of nothing. I can assure you that we will never plan 4 days of nothing for your children, okay? What I can tell you is that they are probably not going to get live instruction during that time. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get nothing during that time. They are going to get asynchronous assignments. They're going to get follow-up work to do. And it is not going to be nothing, but it is not going to be live instruction. So I just wanted to be clear about that. So we're never going to set something up where children are going to be doing nothing. That is the wrong, those are the wrong way to do it. The other part was, the other question here was, there's 2 other ones. Will kids be part, will she be part of her class? Will she be with a new class? We're going to try and keep the classes together with remote learning. The more we know now, the more we can do that. I think that's fair to say. And the other part was explaining who will be teaching the blended learners when they are remote. They will be our teachers, hopefully. Mrs. Pissarro, I mean, maybe you can clarify, but I think it's going to be a challenge to make sure that it's the same teacher that they had with live instruction.
That's right. During that like little transition, well, we don't know how long it would be, but the transition period for when they're getting their instruction through that blended period, it will be the same teacher. But then after that, once the sixth graders get pulled together, they're getting pulled as a sixth grade and creating a class. So everybody won't be able to have the same teacher.
Right, right. But initially the blended group may have the same teacher when they're in school and when they're at home, but it may not stay that way.
We don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're intending.
Yes.
Mhm.
Blended learning, having second thoughts, right? Which should be a new, yeah, we don't know about the class. We just talked about that. How many students in each class? There can't be more than 33 students in a class or 12 in 12 to one-to-one classes.
So one question, sir. So
Yes, sir.
now we said that we're trying, we want to do 8 periods, but we don't know if we'll be able to have electives yet. So if we don't have band or music, then what would be filling in to get those 8 periods?
It'll be a music class.
There will be a music class.
Oh, yes. It'll be a music class.
Okay, I misunderstood.
But it won't be like chorus, a performance-based class, because that's really hard to do online, right? But there's a lot out there about music, and the children will be getting music instruction. Unfortunately, as much as I know they love to sing and we love to hear them sing, it's going to be a very hard thing to do, even in person. Safety is first, always first.
So is it possible, I mean, to do, maybe we take 15-minute blocks of kids and the kids get one-on-one, or maybe a few remote instructions so they could have a voice lesson with Ms. Verghese, or maybe they could practice their instrument with Mr. Altieri, and can we do something like that? Is that possible?
I'm going to say yes. There are things that are possible like that, but they have a lot of students. So
Yes.
I think the shift has to be away from being a performance-based class at this point, just for safety's sake.
I'm speaking mostly even remote, we could do it, but I guess, yes, what
No,
problem
but again, in a classroom with a bunch of kids who were singing, right? I mean, we were talking today, and there's research being done about, singers spreading the virus. I mean, I think it's only common sense.
Right.
That, when you have a bunch of kids singing in a room, there's more of a chance of spread, and you can't sing with a mask on.
Right. So I'm thinking more that you should be doing the singing stuff on the remote day, where you can be at home in front of the camera singing, and then Mr. Altieri or Ms. Verghese can give notes to the children that way, even if they're only 5 or 10 minutes each.
Really good ideas, for sure.
And also, it's not going to be for the blended learner. They're going to have 7 periods, not 8, because of lunch. Lunch was eliminated. The lunch period.
Right.
And we're forced to almost extend that homeroom just because of entry and dismissal being staggered.
So let's talk about, I know there were some questions about times for students. So students will be expected to be at school. The school day will start for students at 8:30 and it will end at 1:59. That we do know right now. Those are for students in person. Okay, that we do know.
So if the people want to change their choice, how do they do that? Do they send you an email?
Right now, the survey is still open. So you can go back onto the survey and you can change your choice.
Okay.
Will they close it soon? Again, you now hopefully understand the issues with the changes, right? And the programming challenges that it makes, and it's challenging. Look, programming is easy to do if you don't put any thought into it and you just want the numbers to work. But our people don't operate that way. They want to do what's best for the children, and they really put thought into it, and that's really important. It's really important, and it's hard to do when the numbers keep changing.
Yeah. Could we please send out that link again to the survey? I know people's emails get lost in their big boxes, and if we could send that email link out again just before it closes, that would be really great. I think
Sure, I
people,
don't know when it's going to close, but I mean, I imagine at some point it will. But
yeah. So can we send out the email?
and again, you could pair it. You can always go remote. You can start school, and you know, if school's open for a week, and you decide whatever the first day of school, third day, 8th day, 12th day, you can decide you want to go remote, and that's fine too. We're here to provide a service to families, and we're here to provide the best service that we possibly can. We've got a great team to do that, and we're here to serve you.
Okay, so people are asking me about that link again. I'm going to post that survey link on the Facebook page, and I'll try to find the email that you guys sent me and send it back out.
Okay.
And also, I just want to make sure we put it out there that we are planning on the assumption that we're teaching our students, but if that changes at any time, it would be out of our hands.
Yeah, we're not planning on that.
Right.
We don't want that. We're not planning on it.
Right.
Masks. We didn't even talk about masks. The idea, masks will be required at all times, of course, except when students are eating and when we provide mask breaks for the children. Are we going to provide them? We will have some on hand. That is my understanding. But it is the parents' responsibility to send children with masks each day. It's also parents' responsibility to screen your children before you send them to school. What does that mean? Well, take their temperature, see if they're sick or not, and don't send them to school if they have any symptoms at all. Because if they do have symptoms or they do have a temperature, obviously, you can get us all sick and shut the whole system down, and you know, people can die. Yeah, we need you. We need you to screen them, and we need you to do that. And so, if they do come to school and they have a temperature or they do have a fever, somebody said, "Well, what if my child was running to school and they're sweating profusely?" Guess what? If you come to school and you're sweating profusely, I am not sending you to class. You are going to see the nurse and you're going to have your temperature taken, and we're going to check you out, right? Because we have no way to screen anybody, right? We have to go by what we see, right? So obviously we use common sense, but you know, these are things that we need to worry about.
Mr. Berman, there's some questions about, for the students who are blended, what time should they arrive?
Okay, we're going to start admitting students at 8:30, and we're going to start with homeroom. So I think you'll get a sense pretty quickly. I can't tell you what time to drop them off, but certainly we're going to start by 8:30, and having students enter the building at 8:30. We're going to go single file, one student at a time, 6 feet apart, right? We have them divided. We expect about 150 to 175 students at a time. So if we split that up and we have 80 or 90 students, we should be able to get them in pretty quickly, all right? And homeroom will be from 8:30 to 9 o'clock, and then we'll start the day at 9 o'clock. We'll not start the day, but we'll start the instructional day at 9 o'clock. That's the plan. So, you know, I would say, you know, bundle up, bring an umbrella, get waterproof shoes, whatever, you know, get stuff for the winter, get warm clothes. You know, we're going to be outside. You know, we cannot congregate inside. And at the end of the day, you cannot wait in the building. Students cannot wait inside. Everybody is dismissed. So, you know, if you don't have the proper gear, you know, I spend a lot of time outside. I like to fish and I like to be in the environment. Some of you might remember me standing on the corner through all kinds of weather. There's no such thing as bad weather, only bad gear. So if you have the right gear, you're okay. So please make sure you have the right gear for your kids. We're going to be outside. Dismissal will be at 1:59. We're going to stagger it. I just saw that pass by. Children will be dismissed at 1:59, as Mrs. Pissarro mentioned. There's no lunch, so they've truncated the day. There'll be a working lunch. Children are going to work. They're going to be whatever. They have math, whatever, science, social studies, lunch. So, yeah. Let's see.
Herman, maybe you could talk about if the child comes to school on a day that they're not assigned.
Yeah, well, if a child comes on a day that they are not assigned, they are not going to class. You're going to have to either come and pick them up, or there's a permission slip that the DOE has created for your children to be sent home on their own. So if you sign that, your child comes to school on the wrong day or whatever, they can go home on their own. If you bring your child to school on the wrong day, look, it happens or whatever, but you'll have to come and pick them up. We won't be able to accommodate them. And of course, if it continues to happen, of course, then we have to have a conversation about that, right? But they won't get instruction in school if they come on the wrong day. Do you need to fill out the survey if you chose blended? Only if you want remote. If you want blended, you don't have to do anything. If blended and not feeling well, can they join the remote part of blended learning? Yeah, well, we will have instruction for students who are blended and then go remote. As Mrs. Pissarro said, there may be a transition period there until they get a full complement of teachers while that happens, but yes.
I believe the question was, if a child is in blended and doesn't feel well that day, it's his day to go to school, can he stay home instead of being sick? Can he stay home and somehow do the at-home portion of it?
Probably not, no. No. If your child doesn't feel well, let them recover. Perhaps that's maybe a better idea than making them do schoolwork if they're not well, but who am I to say? Honor Society. Right now, Honor Society is on hold. A big part of Honor Society is community service. And I don't expect people to do community service now. It's not academics are part of the Honor Society, but the most important part, as far as I'm concerned, are the service hours. What percent are we right now? I want to say we're probably closer to 60% remote. We don't know about report cards yet. When is dismissal? That's 1:59. I'm just running through the questions here. They reported there'll be grades. Great. I think there should be. Blended, we talked about. I'm not cold at home. I am usually tend to be on the cold side, but no offense taken. Survey is open for remote only choice. Okay. Right. Yeah. If you want to go blended at this point, I think you have to wait till November. Students have schedules to come to school. Not yet. You will, but not yet. Breakfast, I assume that breakfast is going to be grab and go. In other words, you come into the school, you grab it, and you go if you want breakfast. Same for lunch. I don't know yet, though. That remains to be seen.
So the question is, if a kid gets a cold, I'm sorry, are you reading this? Do you want me to read it? I apologize. That's
all right. I was getting to the end, but go right ahead.
So no, if a kid has a cold, we want them to stay home. We're not going to try to decide. We're not going to try to decide, is this a cold? Is this just a cold? Or is this a COVID? If your kid is sick in any way, shape, or form, please keep them home.
That's right. And
yes.
if they exhibit any kind of symptoms in school, we're going to call you and insist that you come and pick them up. Like quickly, not like at the end of the day, not like in 3 hours. Like, come and pick them up. We will have an isolation room, and your child will be in the isolation room during that time. But please, it's not going to be pleasant for your child. They want to be with you or with their classmates. They don't want to be in an isolation room. So please pick them up quickly. How about eating lunch? Kids remove masks. Yeah, until someone figures out a way to get it right through the mask. Yep. Kids get cold. Will they be allowed in school with a cough or runny nose? No, stay home. If you're sick, any sick, stay home. Do not take a chance now. If your child has a runny nose, we're going to call you to come and pick them up. You're not going to have a choice. Please. It's very, very serious. What happens if blended learners? Yes, everybody goes remote if the school's closed. And you post the link to the survey. Oh, there it is. When does school start for students who want to go to school? September 10th, that's the first day of school. 2 days on, 4 days off means different days of attendance each week. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And the DOE hasn't come out with a calendar yet, so we don't know which are school holidays yet and which are not. So I know you want to plan for the whole year. I do too, but we can't yet. If a blended student doesn't feel safe, can he join the next day remote learning for that day? You can't join for a day, but you can join at any time, if that makes sense. You can't join for a day and then say, all right, I'll go back. You can only go back quarterly, right? But you can go remote anytime. Blended learners, if the school closes, you become remote. Positive in class, they become remote. Is live streaming an option? Probably not. For a number of reasons. Technically, it is definitely not right now. And we don't know the union stance on that now or the DOE policy on that. Will there be homework assignments given for, there may be some homework assignments. Yes, there may be. Do we get the same teachers if you are remote? The same as what? I'm not sure. You will have more consistent teachers remotely. Yes. We do expect that you will have the same math teacher, the same ELA teacher, the same social studies teacher if you are remote. What about weather, allergen, or I don't know. I'm sure I understand that question. Can you please tell us who the main 187 teachers are? They will be our regular teachers. First day is September 9th. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was the 10th. Can you please clarify your comment on live streaming? Sure. We cannot live stream from the school. We don't have the bandwidth capability. I also don't know if that is a policy for streaming, for teachers to stream or not. If we switch to remote, will it be November? No, you can switch to remote at any time. Anytime. So please, I mean, I'm willing, you know, I know we've been doing this a while. I'm willing to certainly go, you know, at least till 5 o'clock. How's that sound? Let's, you know, bring on the questions. Child has a runny nose and we can't send them. Does that mean they won't get instruction? If we know that students are going to be out for an extended period of time, let us know, and we will try and accommodate that.
That's the same we would do if we were going to school regularly. You would call your teacher and you would say, my kid's going to be out for a week. Do you have packets or something that we could catch up on? It's the same exact idea. Is that correct?
That's correct. You can switch to remote by filling out the survey. The link is in the chat here. Blended learners, again, if school closes, they become remote. Let's see. Will the grading continue as in previous years? Well, I hope it doesn't continue as it was in the spring. I hope it will be our regular grading policy with, of course, acknowledgement of remote learning. That's one of the things our teams of teachers are working on. What are the expectations? So for example, what's our homework policy? What's our camera policy? What's our microphone policy? Our policy, folks, please understand, cameras on, microphones on. It is not for the student to decide, no, I don't want to turn my camera on, right? There's all kinds of things. You can put a background on, you can put a Zoom background, you can put whatever, you can be wherever you want. We don't have to see your house, but we do expect that the cameras are going to be on, parents. We expect that the microphones are going to be on, right? For remote learning. We need that to happen. It's not going to be a choice for children. And I do expect children will get the grades they deserve. None of this meeting, whatever. I expect to give the students numerical grades that accurately represent their performance. Yes. Statewide tests, we don't know. Good, great question. Great question. Don't know. SHSAT, I don't know. Was that moved? I don't know.
We have dates.
Okay, maybe you can post them for families.
It's posted, posted in the chat, and it's posted on the Facebook. Right
Great.
now, it's all, right now, it's not remote. Right now, they're hoping to have like actual kids go to these schools, and we'll see.
Right. If your child has a stuffing, look, if your child is exhibiting symptoms of illness, please understand that we're going to send that child to the nurse and they're going to call and have you pick up the child. Any time, but still waiting until you form another class. We don't know how long that will take. The iPad link is in the chat. Can we pick up textbooks and a planner if we choose to? We haven't worked that out. Perhaps, I don't see why not. What happens when a teacher tests positive? Who will teach the class? Great question. We'll have to get a sub. Who can I contact to set up the 504? Great, that's Mrs. Forsyth, who, by the way, would join us. She's away. She had made some previous plans, so I know she regrets not being able to be here with us. But Mrs. Forsyth will happily do that. You can always contact our parent coordinator as well, Mrs. Palumbo, who also sends her regrets, who's unable to be here today. Live streaming, the remote learning will be live streaming similar to this broadcast. Yes. Devices, will there still be PACER tests? I don't think so. I don't think so. Is that a relief for you? Maybe. I don't know. Will you
Mr.
provide?
Berman, I'm getting questions about the procedure if kids test positive. Do we know what that is yet? Like one kid tests positive, two kids, do we close the school? Do we close the class? Do we have isolation? That's a big, long thing.
One or two, it's not a big long thing. I can go through it quickly. It's important. One or two kids in the same class, then they will close down the classroom, and anyone who was in that will be, the classroom was quarantined. It could be an awful lot of people, depending on if the kids went to PE that day or whatever. Cases in more than one group, more than one classroom, then they close the school.
More than one class, they close the whole school.
More than one case in different classrooms.
More than one case, different classrooms, close the school for 14 days.
Up to 14 days.
Up to 14 days.
Correct.
Thank you.
During that time, then everybody goes remote.
Sorry, Mr. Berman, I just have to go. I just wanted to say.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so much, Ms. Pizarro.
No problem.
Really
No problem. And Vito, I made you the host so that everybody won't get knocked off if I leave.
Thank
you very much. We really
No problem. Take care. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye. Let's see where we are. Yeah, there's a question here about students making connections and having opportunities. Yeah, we're working on that. In fact, we've already sent the first the first video, and we're really working hard on that. Getting textbooks from school, we'll send out information about that when we do that. And talk about testing, and I guess we're sort of coming down to the end. But as far as testing, all staff members have been encouraged to get tested 7 days before they report to work. And there have been sites that have streamlined for that to happen. It is not a requirement. And it is not a requirement that students get tested before school or anything like that. I think if your child has symptoms, you should get them tested, bring them to the doctor right away. My son complained last week. He said, you know, I have a little shortness of breath. Well, we took him to the doctor right away. We got a COVID test. We quarantined him until we found out 3 days later. No, he's fine. So he went to the Hamptons with his friend this weekend, thankfully. You know, but this is the world we live in now. You know, individual responsibility. It's very, very important, right? We're counting on you, parents. We're counting on you to keep sick children home. We're counting on you to take your temperature, your child's temperature every day. If you don't have a good thermometer, please get one, please. And even if they don't have any symptoms, check their temperature every day. There are literally thousands of people's lives at stake. Thousands of people, not just the kids in the school, but their families. We are counting on you. Test and don't send sick children. We are not allowed to test children at the school. We're not, you know, we're not equipped to do that. We will be doing random temperature checks. Who's doing that? I don't know. They're supposed to be telling me who's supposed to be doing those things. Just like who's supposed to be staffing the isolation room. I don't know. Don't worry, we're just not going to put your kid in a room by themselves and lock the door. Somebody's got to be in there with them, but I don't know. Maybe that's a new parent volunteer position. Isolation room coordinator. Anybody want that? Just kidding.
So one other question, and maybe we should wrap it up, is
good.
once they close the survey, people want to change their mind from blended to remote, who do they send an email to?
I don't know. Send it to me or send it to Mrs. Palumbo, our parent coordinator, and we'll work through it that way. I have not seen what the process is for parents yet to do that. I'm sure it will be made clear. That's a great question for the town hall. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's a town hall staff meeting. The chancellor is having a town hall meeting for staff, and I will ask that question along with lots of others. Okay,
so listen, so that I do want to have one advertisement here. CEC meeting is on Wednesday evening. It will be very similar format. There'll be a lot of stuff. Our superintendent, if you don't already know, has announced that she is retiring. I will send out a link to the CEC meeting if you wish to attend, and it is also posted on our Facebook page and group. So with that, I want to thank Mr. Berman, Ms. Siddiqui, Ms. Pizarro, everyone else for joining us and staying on as long as they did and for helping us out and for everything you've done, not just today, but, you know, forever. Thank you all so much.
You're welcome, and thank you, and thanks everyone for coming.